Today the book I am going to review about is called The English Teacher. This is a wonderful Indian novel written by r.k.narayan, who is famous for his fictional stories. This book is originally published in the year of 1945. The characters who appeared in this novel are Krishna, a college lecturer, Sushila, his wife, that is Krishna's wife, the headmaster and the close friend of Krishna, who is headmaster of a nearby public school, Leela, daughter of Krishna, Rangappa, a colleague of Krishna who teaches philosophy, Gopal, another colleague of Krishna who teaches math, Ganapati, a senior assistant professor in the English section, Brown, chief of Albert Mission College where Krishna, Gopal, Rangappa, Gajapati worked. The story starts as Krishna is preparing his notes for that day's classes. That day, at the end of the work hour, all were called to Brown's chambers, where Brown bring light upon a child who had missed you from the word honors while pronouncing it. On this, all the faculties were scolded a little bit. While going back home, Krishna had an argument with Gajapati. After dinner, his colleague Gopal and Rangappa started discussion on the Brown's topic, one of the neighboring rooms. All the discussion were centered upon the speech that Brown had given to all the English faculties. Today, Krishna bids goodbye earlier than usual as his mind has been disturbed by the Brown's lecture and he wanted to go for a walk tomorrow morning. Rangappa requested Krishna to wake him up so that they both could go for a walk. When the time arrived, Krishna tried to wake up Rangappa standing at his window and calling him, but Rangappa lent him a deaf ear, so he had to walk alone. That walk gave him a lot of refreshment. With this refreshment, he wrote down some verses of poetry. When he returned home that day, there were two letters waiting for him. One was from his wife. The letter has a symbol, as in they are in pale blue color, and the other is from his father. Now his wife is residing in her father's house with her baby girl. Author had an elder brother and two sisters. His elder brother is an auditor in Hyderabad. As there had been a quarrel between his wife and her mother, that is, her elder brother's wife and her mother, so he always preferred to live there and seldom visited home. And he was also father of 10 children. It's a really difficult task to manage them all at a time. From this, author and his wife decided not to have more than one children at any cost. In that letter, his father had mentioned that you should get yourself out of that college hostel and set up a family. Then he opened his wife's letter. It had wife's smell, that is, jasmine fragrance. This was the reason author had grown a jasmine tree in the boys' hostel garden, which was really unusual. On the very next day, author went out in search of house as soon as the classes are over. He has some preferences for the houses, like it should face south, it must have a room for each one of them, and which could accommodate at least two guests, having good neighbors. Having these things in mind, he started his journey in search of house. He visited a lot of houses which are meant to be rented, but none of them are good enough to catch author's eyes. This search continued for 3 to 4 days, and finally he got a recommendation from one of his students and visited that house, and he really liked it. So he talked with the owner and finalized the rent for 25 rupees per month. 4 days later, he shifted from his hostel room to his new rented house. Her mother reached there from the village and brought a lots of vessels with her. As his son is going to start his married life, as she was also little bit excited. Then Arthur had a baby girl, but he had not able to be with his wife for a quite long time. Now, after years of marriage, they were going to live together. After a few days, his wife with his father, that is, father-in-law of Krishna, reached there via train. Krishna was already standing in the platform to pick them up with all the carry bags, Krishna brought them to his new rented house. But his father in law said that he has some important work in the village and so he could not stay there for long and he had to leave the station after the exact returning train, which is scheduled to be in just 5 minutes after. So Krishna brought his wife home where his mother is waiting eagerly to welcome her daughter-in-law and she did it with a puja thali. In few days Susila learnt everything from her mother-in-law as she was the youngest daughter in her family, so he had not learnt that much in her father's house. But she was a very good learner. She did everything as her mother-in-law told her. For initial few months, his mother stayed and helped Susila in her chores. His mother took utmost care such as the neither mother nor the child get a little bit uncomfortable. On that day, Susila had prepared a special dish for Krishna and when he returned from the college, she served it. Krishna thought Krishna would like it. Though he did not like it very much, but he appreciated Susila's effort and ate a little more than usual to show her that he liked it very much. Krishna's wife was more than just a mere household. She was a great financial advisor. As before, Krishna's salary was only 100 rupees. But as soon as Susila arrived there, his 100 rupees salary get converted into 200 rupees as she managed everything in the home. When go to shopping and where to spend, how much to spend, everything is managed by Susila and she did it at utmost care. Her mother, after going back to the village, sent an old lady who is her friend and was used to stay with her son. But to her utter dismay, her son died, and now no one is there to take care of her. So her mother sent her to Krishna's place so that Susila could get help and she could get something to eat. Due to the presence of a member in the house, Susila had to redesign the one-time monthly shopping list, and the lady is charging a very minimal fee, that is 4 rupees per month. One day, Krishna, after returning from college, decided to take her wife out for a walk to the nearest river beach, and it happened. They left Leela under the guidance of the old lady and both moved out. This busy schedule had been affecting Krishna's poetry writing habit, so his wife decided an amazing plan. She sat in front of Krishna and told Krishna to write a poem on her. This happened in every week, and Krishna would just go on writing for 30 to 40 verses of poem. They were having a very happy and prosperous life. Krishna was supposed to have a table clock and some old newspapers in his room, besides his study tables, which make the room untidy. So Susila decided to sold them out, and she sold everything including the old clock and the old papers for 1 rupee and 12 annas. This annoyed Krishna very much and he got angry on Susila and did not eat the tiffin and coffee after returning from the college. Krishna behaved a little bit rudely with Susila and made Susila cry. When Krishna knew that Susila is crying, he felt embarrassed and decided to take her out to a movie to improve her mood. And it happened also. On their way to movie, Susila told her that I had given that old clock so that you could get a new one. And Krishna responded positively. On the occasion of Leela's third birthday, Krishna's father penned a letter to Krishna and suggested that he should buy a new house or build a new one, but not to worry about the expenses. All of the expenses are to be made by his own father. On the next Sunday, they decided to go out and choose a house, as he did not want to bother about the brick and mortars. And Susila wake up early in the morning and make Krishna got waked up. Susila instructed the maid to keep Leela until they return back, as the old lady had gone to the village for some personal works and they left home while Leela was still sleeping. They went through a Bombay Anand restaurant and both of them dined together. And Susila got impressed by the tiles fitted there in the walls of hotel, and Krishna assured her to get these tiles fitted in their new house also. They walked from extreme north of the city to extreme south in search for houses. There, Krishna expressed his thought of publishing a book that he had been writing in the format of collection of poems. And if he could sell many copies of that book, he became rich so that he could take Susila to England and Europe. And when they are supposed to go, they will leave their child, leave Leela with her grandparents. They reached the place where he was supposed to meet Shastri, a real estate man. Krishna greeted Shastri and he greeted them back. Shastri asked one of the contractors to show Krishna and Susila some of the best houses that they have in that street. In that street, there were 4 to 5 houses, but none of them were able to convince both the couples except the last one. It was a big house, and there were 2 jasmine creepers grown over the gate, which was enough to fascinate Krishna. Both the couples were very pleased to have that house, and Krishna and the contractor started talking with each other while Susila went to the backward of that house. There she found a room and went into it, and something tragic happened, that she saw something, and due to that Susila got feared and returned back running. Krishna picked her and washed her face, and Shastri gave both of them the word that he would try his best to keep the price below 500. And they left and took a tonga, that is bullock cart, and returned home. While returning home, Krishna brought some biscuits and a doll for the baby girl, waiting them in the home alone. When they reached, Susila immediately got into the bed and did not wake up for food. She skipped both lunch and dinner. Krishna found that she had got a fever and used watercloth on her forehead to reduce the temperature. They could have consulted doctor, but Susila did not let him. 3, 4, 5, 6 days passed, and till then she had not left that bed. The old lady instructed many times that you should consult a doctor, but Susila always restricted him, made him believe that this was just a viral fever, though he had given her medicines from the nearest medicine store, but all were in vain. None of them seemed to have brought a little improvement in her body. At last, Krishna had to go for the doctor's consultancy. He approached Dr. Shankar of Krishna Medical Hall. He booked an appointment and waited for some time. Then he met doctor and told him about her wife's symptoms. And doctor asked a few questions and wrote down a prescription. But this did not fulfill Krishna's demand. As Krishna wanted to take doctor to his home so that doctor himself could see the patient condition. Once that also happened, doctor understood it as in malaria and gave the medicines accordingly. Those medicines continued for some 3 days, and on the 3rd day Krishna again visited the doctor. On the next visit to the doctor, he begged him to go for a visit, and the doctor did that. When he examined Susila for half an hour and then said there is nothing to worry about, and then cracked some of jokes to motivate the patient and left her house. With results, Krishna requested doctor to visit their place once every day. On one afternoon, doctor took some blood of Susila for examination, and results said that it is typhoid, and this is a matter to worry about. And doctor assured Krishna that there is nothing to worry so much, and doctor used to visit their house every day. Krishna was told to measure the temperature once in 4 hours and record it. The temperature always maintained itself in the range of 102 to 104 Fahrenheit. Whenever Susila asked about the temperature, she was always told by reducing 4 to 5 points in the temperature scale. Susila's father and mother had arrived then, and Susila told Krishna that her father had told her that she would be awarded 500 rupees when she get well. On a beautiful day, Shastri arrived in their house and asked Krishna about the house deal. But Krishna, after consulting with Susila, replied that they would again consider after Susila got well. Krishna was used to tell stories from a picture book that has the same picture, but Krishna's imagination is strong enough to create different stories every time. That day, Dr. Shankar arrived in a car with another doctor, and both of them examined Susila and updated the medicines that she was taking and instructed to keep ice packs on her forehead. And this gave some promising results, as Susila's fever had dropped to 101, and all were happy, but this was just because of ice pack. and temperature rose back to normal 102 mark as the ice bag is removed for 2 to 3 hours. That day, all of a sudden, her body started becoming cold, and doctor arrived and gave her an injection. And Krishna asked the doctor, "Is she going to be all right?" As the temperature is dropping, Krishna is little bit excited. The doctor replied, "You would watch very soon." And after an hour, she is dead. The rituals were done. Leela was not taken to the graveyard, but she had never asked further about her mother. As she was told that mother had been taken to the hospital where a nurse is taking her care. Then the life goes on as every work had to be managed by Krishna itself. She had taken a good care of Leela such that Leela could never feel the absence of her mother. Krishna sent his daughter to a nearby school where there is a schoolmaster who became friend with Krishna. That teacher was a very good man as he had chosen his passion as his job rather than a high earning job. He could have gathered a lot of money doing any other jobs, but he chose to be a school teacher. Slowly, by the course of time, Krishna and school teacher become friends. In that school, Krishna's daughter was studying. Then on a day, he was leaving the college and a boy reached and handed him a letter and asked Krishna to read it now and said that my father had sent you this. And the letter was from Susila, from the other side of the world. This fell on Krishna as a bolt from the blue. Anand Krishna requested the boy to wait for him so that he could go home and say goodbye to his daughter and they both will go to meet his father. It happened. The boy waited for Krishna and both of them started their journey. His house was within a dense cluster of trees. Krishna met his father back in the house. They have acres full of lands, of shops, of orchards, and a temple beside a pond. Now the man started talking about the letter. Every day you were supposed to sit there beside that pond near the temple, but on a day that place gave the feeling of eternity. One day he felt an urge to sit there with a pen and paper. On that day he was sitting there holding the pencil, and the pencil started to move on its own. It read down, "Thank you. They are who are writing are a band of spirits who are working to make a breeze between the gulf of afterlife and life. Without him, the breeze is incomplete," and asked him if he could help them, and the man agreed. The hand started writing that letter which Krishna was holding in his arm. They fixed their next meeting after a week. That is, the man and Krishna fixed their meeting after a week. At this time, his friend brought a sharpener with him, so there could be no misfortune of pencils getting breached. And both of them sat there, and his friend called for the souls. The pencil starts moving. Pages after pages, he just go on writing. His hands got overpressurized, but he did not complain. At last, after the thing is over, he asked the soul to reduce their pressure the next time, and the souls also begged pardon. In this conversation, Krishna asked if his wife could converse with him directly. She replied that she had to be that much of relaxed to be able to open the road of the conversation. After a few months, his friend had to travel to some places due to some reasons and they could not sit together every month, but the process is still going as his friend calls the soul, and those letters are sent to Krishna, and in reply Krishna sent back the further questions to be asked or further anything to be told or asked. He always asked how he could communicate with his wife without any requirement of any medium. Her wife suggested that if he could isolate his mind, he could let Susila to enter into his mind and they could communicate to each other. She suggested him to sit silently every day for half an hour at a constant time, think about her, and she would try to enter his brain. And this process goes on. By the time he slowly improved, Krishna chose night time after taking his dinner. He chose to sit for half an hour. But after every time he got more stressed as he could not do it. Susila noticed it and Susila told Krishna to just break it for 10 to 15 days and resume it again. But Krishna did not respond. Krishna did it every day. On a particular day, he had a thought that if he could leave the college and join anywhere else, he could get more stressless and he could open his mind more. In this process, the only problem was his daughter's future, and to his faith, a letter came from his father, and the letter said that Lilia's two grandfathers, that is, grandfather of maternal side and paternal side, each have saved a lot of money for Leela's future, that is, Leela's marriage. And Krishna had not to worry about that. So on the very next day, Krishna deposited the resignment letter in Brown's office. Brown asked where you are going to work from today. He replied in the nearby school where his daughter was studying. What is the salary? 25 rupees less, that is 75. But this is not enough, Brown responded. He said, I know, but I would manage it as I don't have any tension about Sushil's future. On the very next day, after resigning from the college and having his dinner, he tried to get some connection with his wife. That is, he meditated for 30 minutes. He could notice a significant improvement in his work. So he finally get down to sleep. His mind was so calm that there could be a connection between life. And he dreamed his wife came and took his hands and they walked near the beach of the river. And hence he was able to communicate with his wife without any medium. And from then every day it goes on, goes on, goes on.